and then why is it humans seem to mess up why is it humans seem to slow it down. Hello dears, Natalie, Locke here with episode 76 of Write the Story. Yes, we are bringing it back down from prompts every single day to prompts 3 times a week. 2 videos a week on my channel and a live stream that will be alternating between my channel or Chandra's channel every Saturday, just in case if you need to follow along. In Write the Story, from this book, there is over 200 prompts and 10 words under each prompt. I give you 1 video at a time, the prompt and the 10 words to include in that prompt to write the story. The way I normally do this, I take that prompt and the 10 words and I outline for about 5 minutes. It's usually just glimpses or like a picture to see. Then I take about 20 minutes to actually draft the story. Then from there, by drafting, it's about 600 words worth of space here. I write it out in the story and then I type it up on my computer. I can't help myself. I do edit slightly when I'm making that transfer. But at the end, I have a story. If this is your first time doing flash fiction, I highly recommend setting no time limit whatsoever. It's okay if you start the story, stop, empty the dishwasher, come back and finish it. It's fine. It is purely to exercise the creativity muscles and try new things. Now, let me go ahead and give you the prompt for episode 76. The prompt is, the main character goes on a trip alone to gain perspective. The words to include are lighthouse, flock, muscle, sprinkle, insult, cliffhanger, cheetah, chartreuse, wrist, and seedling. For this story, I had a lot of fun. I started with, well, what's the conflict? What is the issue that this main character is trying to overcome? And at first I was going to keep it a surprise, but I ended up throwing in some hints and tricks in there. So I'm just go ahead and tell you. My main character found out she was pregnant. So now she's walking on the beach trying to figure out whether she's ready or not. The thing that started my outline was finding out she was pregnant. I got my conflict. Then from there I was able to think, walk on the beach near a lighthouse. Maybe there's rocks by the lighthouse with tidal pools. In the tidal pools is like starfish, mussels, sprinkled with other sea creatures. Seagulls, flock of seagulls are coming down to grab all the sea creatures to eat. For chartreuse, I had to look up the color. I had no clue. For some reason, I was thinking it was like a purplish lilac type thing. No, it's like lime green practically. So for chartreuse, I said chartreuse algae. Even though algae is usually a darker green, I still went with the light green. So I said chartreuse algae covered the rocks. The main character actually slips on the rocks, catches herself, and this is where wrist came in. She hurts her wrist. And then the line insult to injury, I wrote in here about insult to injury, but I was like, you know what, I really don't like it. So I kept insult to a wrist sprain is what it became as, but I don't know, it still feels like a cliche. Then at this point I realized I didn't use cliffhanger or seedling, so I decided to kind of write my opening where the opening is like, you know, movies give you a cliffhanger for news and stuff like that, and then they do a montage, and so that's how the story starts. And seedling, I actually didn't put seedling in my outline whatsoever. Bravo to me. I will say, the one you haven't heard me say yet was cheetah, and I was thinking the seagulls were swooping down so fast they were like a cheetah. I ended up changing that one. 3 words that ended up changing were muscle, cheetah, and seedling. Seedling I didn't use at all. Cheetah changed because it wasn't in reference to the seagulls anymore, and muscle changed because it wasn't in reference to the actual sea creature that's a mussel. I changed that as well. So 3 out of 10 words changed. Not too shabby. I'm fine with that. I mean, 7 stayed consistent. And even if they all changed, I'd still be happy about it. But I do like to highlight the growth and how much our outlines are not a fixed, carved in stone situation compared to our story. So let me go ahead and read you my version of episode 76. Shows and movies always give you a big cliffhanger, then do a montage of the main character dealing with the big news until new life arrives. I wish life was that way, instead of this normal speed while straining under the weight of the unknown. If this was my montage moment, it would just be me walking on the beach by the lighthouse. There would be a comedic relief when I'm yanked from my thoughts as a flock of seagulls swoop down to the tidal pools right by me. I wonder what song would play while I take this silent journey. Would it have lyrics tying into what I'm dealing with, like Papa Don't Preach or Changes? Maybe just instrumental, so I don't end up singing along. Here I am, thinking I'm still the main character. I sit down next to the tidal pools, trying to see if any creatures are sprinkled in nooks and crannies after the seagulls' feast. All the sea life happened without the interference of parents. Why is it that humans seem to mess up the upbringing of their offspring? Other species just eat their young. Can't teach someone a lesson if you kill them. I shiver. That's too dark, even for me. I have to try to keep the darkness out. Easier said than not said. While I sit by the tidal pools, I see a slug climb up the side of a rock. They keep sliding down, but they, because I would never assume their gender, are getting closer to the top of the rock at each attempt. I'm sure from the slug's angle, the top is an unknown distance away, but they keep trying, and in trying, they're getting closer. Shit. I didn't know Eureka would happen that easy. I stand up, but slip forward on the chartreuse algae. My right hand slams against the rocks, while my left hand instantly covers my once flat stomach. Really? Motherly instincts kick in that quickly? The final insult to the wrist sprain. I attempt to stand once more, slower this time. I'm ready to try to strengthen this parenting muscle to keep up with the little cheetah when they get here. A foul smell invades my nose. I bend over, hands on my knees, my hair falling around my face as I hurl into the stand, formerly mine, breakfast. With the cough and a spit to clear my mouth out, I realize I need to survive the seedling phase first. I actually really enjoyed this story. I feel the evolution from the conflict. You got hints and comedic relief, which I'm still working on, throughout the story, and I feel that that was good. But also, I'm sure there's something I need to work on. I can't quite put my finger on it, but I feel like there's something missing in this story. That, like, and not even editing what's already there, but I need to add something in, and I don't know what that is quite yet. Maybe I'll know it when I go through the editing phase of this, but I feel like there is something that needs to be added to the story to strengthen it, to give it that oomph and that power. Well, that kind of leads me directly into my favorite line, because that's usually what I say after I give you my least favorite. But I can't figure out my least favorite. I don't know what my least favorite is yet. Even rereading this story over and over, I can't quite figure it out. But I did figure out my favorite line. And it's more of a favorite paragraph, but if I had to pick out a line from it, it would be 2 sentences. And it's the paragraph where the main character, who remains unnamed, says, "I shiver. That is too dark even for me." And then here's the beginning of what I would call the favorite line, the next 2 sentences. "I have to try to keep the darkness out. Easier said than not said." And I just felt that this was powerful, because the thing is, and I feel like I could even change this, instead of easier said, because she never says anything out loud, but easier to think about than not think about, maybe could be the line here, because the whole premise is that she's trying not to be too dark and too down on herself. And maybe that's what I'm also missing in this story, because in my headcanon of this story, this main character didn't have the best examples of parenting. And so she's trying to figure out if she's even worthy of being a parent. But just seeing the slug try kind of gave her hope of maybe if I keep trying, I'll be good. And then also, she kind of shown an instinct of motherly protection by putting her hand on her stomach without her even realizing it. And so that kind of gave her hope. And maybe that's what I'm missing from this story, is her fears holding her back and making her question what to do. But at the end of the story, she has a glimmer, a hope that things are going to be okay. And that's what I liked about this story. So I'm glad I finally figured out what was probably missing from the least favorite line. But favorite line definitely was, I have to try to keep the darkness out. Easier said than not said. Hopefully you enjoyed this story, or even enjoyed your own version that you wrote of this story. As I always recommend, please do not listen to my stories for the prompts I write until after you've written mine, because I've done that before and it just, sometimes you can't help but contrast and compare. Unless my stories make you feel better about yours because mine are so rough. Then by all means listen to mine and then feel that yours is superior and we're spot on. It's all about improving how you feel about your writing and how to get better at your writing. And as long as you can always pick out something wrong with your writing to get better at, then you will never become complacent and thinking your writing is perfect and it never needs correction, because that is dangerous. Hope you enjoyed writing this prompt today, or whatever passion you've been able to take part in today, or even for the week. And I hope you continue to find enjoyment in those passions, in those little moments, every single day, every week, every month, and every year.